Okay, we're going to talk about understanding decimals. And we've been practicing this in class. We're just really going to focus on furthering our knowledge, the knowledge that we have. So we've talked about how we practice speaking a decimal, and now we're going to talk about how we actually are going to write out a decimal. And it's going to be the exact same way that we practice saying it in class. So I have this chart up here, and I'm not sure if it's too small for you to see or not, but if you can view that chart, you can see the place value. And so when we write the number 2 and 459 thousandths, I'm actually placing the numbers in the correct place value slots. So I'll draw it a little bit more clear here. The 2, remember that decimal, I say and. We've got a 4 in the tenths place, we've got a 5 in a hundredths place, and I've got a 9 in the thousandths place. And down here below is how my example of how to write that. You write 2, which represents your whole number, and is your decimal, 400, so you say the whole number, 459, and the last thing that you say is where that last digit's place value is. And again, we have to remember, if it's behind the decimal, it's going to end with that THS. And the other thing that we always need to just remember and warm up that brain is that behind the decimal, we start in the tenths place. In front of the decimal, we have the ones. So we just need to make sure we get that all clear. So we're going to just do one here together. And I'm going to write 67 and 3/10. And I want you just to practice writing that. We would write 60, and when we're writing into the double digits, we have to use that hyphen. So we write 60, and then we write the number 7. And again, that decimal place is when we makes us say, and also we write and. We write the number that's there. And then I write the value. So this is in the tenths place. So I'm writing tenths. And again, behind the decimal, the THS. So just kind of a quick refresher on how we write decimals in words. Let's keep continuing our knowledge here and review about standard form. Standard form is really just the original way or the standard way that we view a number. So standard form of 7500ths would be written 7500ths. If I was writing the number 5,243 and 3/10, it's just the original way that you're used to viewing that number. It's standard. When we go talking about expanded form, we need to understand the definition changes here, and it's a sum. And the sum we know is when we're adding, that shows the place value of each digit in a number. So let's go back to our example of 75 hundredths. And how would we write that in expanded form? If we use this definition, a sum that shows the place value of each digit. So I know that I have to write an addition problem that's going to show the place value of each digit. So let's start with our 7/10. 7/10, and then I need to look at my next place value, and I've got 5 hundredths, and I have to add that. And so this is going to be my standard form. Excuse me, this is going to be your expanded form of writing your number. So make sure we're taking notes on that because we'll need to go back and review. And the last thing, we're just going to do a basic introduction of what scientific notation is. And scientific notation uses the power of 10 to show a number's value. So here's our example. And we're going to really have to practice, so we're really just doing a basic introduction of understanding this. This is what they use in Britain. So it's kind of important for us to understand what other countries use. And here's our example. Standard form of the number 700, we just view it 7, 0, 0. When I'm writing it in scientific notation, I would write 7 to the power, to 10 to the power of 2. And basically it's going to end up having the same value. Let's work this out. 7, and we know PEMDAS, we've already started studying orders of operation. We've got to solve 10 to the second power first, and 10 to the second power, 10 times 10 is 100. Well, 7 times 100 equals 700. So it's a different way of viewing the number, and it uses powers to show the value. So just a basic introduction. We're not going to go too deep with scientific notation yet, but we want to understand that when you hear that term, what it means. Let's kind of do some practice just over what we've gone over. So we're going to write the number in words. Let's practice this together. 2, again, this means and, that decimal, and 3, and what's this place value? Tenths. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to write the word in expanded form. So let's go back. What is expanded form? Oh yeah, that's the one, the sum, that shows the place value of each digit. So I've got the tenths place here. So I've got 6 tenths. So just writing 6 tenths plus, I'm looking at my next place value, 4 hundredths plus 4 hundredths. So that's how I'm writing my decimal in expanded form. Now down below, I need to read the word and I need to write it in standard form. So that's how I originally think of the number in numbers. Now I've got words, so I'm putting it back into numbers. 40 and 9 thousandths. So for this one, I'm writing 40 and 9 thousandths. So I'm writing my number 40 again. That tells me it's a decimal place. And 9 thousandths. So I've got to add my zeros, and I go all the way down to the thousandths place, ones, or tenths, excuse me, hundredths, thousandths place, and I add that 9. So just practicing here together. Now we're going to go back and do a little bit of practice with scientific notation. I know that it has to have to the power of 10, whatever power it needs to be to get this number. So let's start off. I'm going to take 5, because I need to have that whole number. What can I multiply 5 by to get 500? It's got to be to the power of 10. You're right, it's going to be 5 times 10 to the second power, because I know that 10 to the second power is 100, and 5 times 100, well, that equals 500. So let's go back. Now I threw something in that might give you a little bit of a challenge, but I want you to push your thinking even a little bit further here. If I know that it has to add this value, and I have to have it to the power of 10, how can I write this one? Think about that. This one is going to be 3 and 2 tenths times 10 to the second power. Let's see how that works. I know that this is going to equal 100, 10 to the second power. 3 and 2 tenths times 100. And when I add 100, I know that all I'm going to do is add 2 zeros, and I take that place value, bump it over and over, and all I have to do is add a 0 there. So I get 320. So we don't have to completely understand it now, but we just want to introduce it, introduce the concept. Let's move on, try some on your own. On your own, I want you to write the decimal in words. Number 1, write this decimal in words. Again, you can review the notes that you've taken. And number 2, you're going to practice writing the decimal in standard and expanded form. So write this decimal in standard and expanded form. And next, we're just going to practice a little bit with scientific notation. I know that this is new, but let's just see what we get. We're just going to try it out here. So write 800 in scientific notation. and then practice or try to write 560 in scientific notation. All right, I will see you back here soon.